Today we are going to take a look at the AlgoLaser Alpha. It is a laser engraver that can cut various materials including wood up to a thickness of 12 mm in one pass, black acrylic up to a thickness of 45 mm, leather, paper and more. It can also engrave metal, wood, acrylic, leather and more effortlessly. This laser engraver is probably best for small business owners and passionate makers. In this video we are going to take an in-depth look at this machine. We are going to take a look at the features of this machine, the pros and the cons, as well as the engraving quality and the cutting power of this laser. This machine was kindly provided to me for this review. So let's start with the packaging and the setup of the machine. The AlgoLaser was well packaged with sufficient packaging material. Especially the laser head was well packaged, and it is arguably the most delicate part of this machine. The Alpha comes with an illustrated manual, protective glasses, some cable ties for cable management, a small brush, a test piece of black acrylic, a test piece of 8 mm thick wood, a test piece of 3 mm MDF, a test piece of 0.1 mm stainless steel, 3 test pieces of metal for engraving, and a small toolbox with tools and screws for assembly. Assembling the Alpha was pretty easy and straightforward, especially because of the illustrated manual. The only thing that slightly annoyed me were the pre-installed cables, and those can't be unplugged, so you have to awkwardly assemble the Alpha with the pre-installed cables permanently getting in your way. Connecting the tool head cables to the mainboard is a little bit finicky, but I am nitpicking at this point. I had, however, a major issue with getting the Alpha to run at first. The machine would start up, and when I tried to home the Y-axis, it would do a horrible sound. I quite quickly discovered that the tool head could not reach the limit switch on the Y-axis because there was a screw in the way. AlgoLaser since clarified that I was the only one so far who had this issue, but I still wanted to mention it here. Luckily, this issue was very easy to fix. All I had to do was remove the screw and move it one slot over. Now the machine was able to home and everything worked just fine. It took me about 30 minutes to get the Alpha operational. Unfortunately, the Alpha did not come with a surface to cut on. I simply put a large steel plate under the Alpha, but that is not the best solution. More on that later. Let's first take a look at the features of the Alpha. The Alpha has a cutting area of 400 by 400 millimeters. It also comes with an active air assist, an emergency stop button, Wi-Fi connectivity, and it advertises that it has so-called COS technology for better performance. So as far as I can understand, this COS technology they talk about basically makes it so that the laser is more focused than on other machines, which gives the laser more cutting power. And while I can't really prove that claim, while I tested the Alpha, I noticed that I can cut wood and acrylic much faster than on other 22-watt laser engravers. For example, the SculptFun S30 Ultra can cut a 4 mm wood board with a speed of 3 mm per second, while the Alpha can cut the same type of wood in just 5 mm per second. Now let's take a look at the engraving quality. The engraving quality of the Alpha is really good and quite fast. I tested the engraving capabilities of the Alpha on wood, leather and metal. I first engraved this design on some plywood, and as you can see, the engraving quality is quite impressive. All of the fine details of the artwork are visible and the lines are very cleanly engraved. By the way, when you set the focus for the Alpha, which is something you have to do with every laser, you basically have to set the exact distance from the laser to the piece you want to engrave or you want to cut, so that the laser is at an optimal distance to the workpiece. This is usually done with a piece of metal or a piece of acrylic, as you can see right here with the SculptFun S30, where you have to put a piece of metal between the laser head and the piece that you want to engrave or that you want to cut to set the right distance. Or as you can see right here with the atom stack, where you have to use a piece of acrylic to set the correct distance. The distance gauge of the Alpha is connected directly to the tool head. You just have to loosen the tool head, move it up, and then push the gouge down. Then you have to move the tool head down until the gouge touches the workpiece, and then you have to fasten the tool head again. After that, all you have to do is push this button right here, and the gouge snaps back into the tool head. This is a very convenient design, and I'm a big fan of it. It already saved me a lot of time. Now back to engraving. Next I engraved these metal example plates that came with the Alpha. And as you can see, the results are also very good. The text came out very clean and there is no fading on the sides of the letters. So this engraver is very accurate. I also engraved and cut some leather, and as you can see, the quality is also top notch. AlgoLaser also advertises a special kind of engraving stainless steel on their website, where they claim that their engraver can color stainless steel with up to 500 different colors. Now this kind of engraving stainless steel is something that you can do with other similar lasers as well, but I still wanted to show what is possible with the Alpha. So I did a couple of test engravings on stainless steel with different settings. As you can see right here, this is a matrix of different squares. Each column is engraved with different power settings, and each row is engraved with different laser interval settings. And as you can see, the stainless steel oxidizes differently depending on the settings. So on the top right, for example, you can see there is more of a golden color, and on the lower left you can see there's more of a bluish color. This method of engraving stainless steel can be used for various projects. It's very interesting. But not only the Alpha can do this. This can be done with pretty much any laser. And I'm not quite sure if I would say that you can engrave with 500 different colors using this technique. I would say it's more like 5 colors and then a few hundred different shades of these colors. And now let's take a quick look at the accuracy of this laser engraver before we take a look at the cutting power. To test the accuracy, I engraved these squares on the top left, the top right, the lower left and the lower right, as well as in the middle of the machine. This is done to ensure that the machine is accurate all over the work area and not just in one location. And well, the results are the machine is very accurate. As you can see right here, it is all within reason. So let's move on to the cutting power of the laser. Let's start with wood. I tried cutting this 9.4mm thick piece of wood and I was able to cut it in just 2 passes. But I would have also been able to easily cut it in 1 pass if I wanted to. I was also able to easily cut black acrylic and leather. You will also be able to cut paper, foam, rubber and more effortlessly on this machine. For example, I made this sign out of some 4mm plywood and some veneer. Every piece of the sign was cut on the Alpha. I was also able to cut this very intricate design out of black acrylic. It is also important to note here that the Alpha is not a CO2 laser, so you won't be able to cut transparent or colored acrylic except for black acrylic. It is also possible to cut stainless steel up to a thickness of 0.1mm with the Alpha, but the metal will deform and as such the cut will not be clean. So I wouldn't generally recommend it. Let's next take a look at the active air assist. The active air assist is great if you want clean cuts. Air will be blown directly under the tool head, which will help keep the cuts clean. And as you can see in previous examples, this works really great. However, I am cutting on a piece of steel, and when you remember what I said in the beginning, this is not ideal. This is the backside of one of the pieces I cut on the Alpha, and as you can see, it is very dirty. This is because the air can't escape on the backside of the pieces. This is why you should generally cut on a honeycomb cutting surface. And while the Alpha doesn't come with one, AlgoLaser will actually sell those in their shop really soon. But it is an extra cost that you should be aware of when buying this machine. And while we are at the topic of extra costs, the AlgoLaser does come with an app that allows you to control the laser. The app comes with some designs that you can use right out of the box. But you can also use photos that you made with your cell phone. And while this is a great starting point, you won't be using this app for more complicated projects. You will probably use a third-party software like Lightburn. And while Lightburn isn't really expensive, it is still an added cost. I personally use Lightburn for all of my laser engraving, and I also used it for this whole review. Overall, I can highly recommend the AlgoLaser Alpha for small business owners or passionate makers. I had a great time with this machine and I had no issues during testing after the setup. It is also very sturdy and, as far as I can tell, very reliable. There are obviously also some cons to this machine. For one, it is not enclosed, so you have to deal with all of the smoke and the fumes that are created when you engrave or cut something. And the base as well as the software to control the laser properly have to be bought separately. But to be honest, this is the case with most laser engravers in this price regiment. If you have any questions about this machine, then feel free to ask them in the comments down below, and I will try to answer as many of them as I can.